Bhakti Purushottam Swami used to be the Chief General Manager here in Mayapur, but about a year ago, or 2 years ago, he requested, he wanted to simply concentrate on preaching, and he became the preaching coordinator for Mayapur, overseeing the interface between the temple and the Namhat, overseeing the festival programs, the book distribution, the campus every type of preaching. He is the coordinator for the preaching aspects as compared to the administrative parts of Mayapur. He's been taking out a festival program for the centennial with 100 festivals every year, I believe. They started processions, they started a lot of different programs which he'll explain to you. And he's also the coordinator for this part of India for the centennial campaign. So, although he's not directly managing on a hands-on basis congregational preaching, but he has a direct experience of what's going on and what benefits are. So we'd like to request His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami to address us. Hare Krishna.
Though I am not directly connected to Namahata department, but for last, I think from the beginning of this Namahata preaching program, somehow or other I am connected to this Namahata preaching program. So much so, when I go to West for preaching, devotees, even if I was temple president of Bhubaneswar for 5 years and general manager of Mayapur for next 5 years, still devotees, they only recognize me that I am a Namahata devotee, somehow or other. Wherever I go, they think I am a Namahata devotee. So that is my pleasure that I am connected to the Namahata preaching field. Because Namahata, my feeling is Namahata is just like a kalpa vriksha, desire fulfilling trees. Because I am looking the preaching division here in Mayapur, I have experienced any preaching field I think about, without connecting it with Namahata, I don't see that how any preaching can expand, even if including book distribution also. Like in our preaching areas here in Siddha Mayapur, we have life membership, book distribution, school preaching program, so many things. But anything we want to do, as soon as I connect with Namahata, I see immediately take a very big step. The Namahata preaching program, just like we know in Srimad Bhagavatam it is explained, there is prayer and there is Shreya. Prayer means you do something, you get immediate result, but that is temporary. But Shreya means it takes some time, but ultimately you get a huge result, and which is very permanent also. I have experienced when we started this Namahata preaching program, many people, they are not realizing, understanding the potency of this Namahata preaching program. They are thinking, what is this village preaching program? Looks very small from outwards. Nobody was giving so much importance. Now I remember when we started, Jayapataka Maharaja, he started first this preaching program, a Pendal program. He wrote a natak, a drama, Kali, and with the help of Sankirtan devotees, I was in charge of Sankirtan party in Calcutta. We used to go for doing Pendal program with about 30-40 devotees. We had 3-4 vehicles that time with drama groups, everything. Where we used to do program, anybody agreed to give us food one day, rice dal sabji. Then we do program there with 30 devotees, 5 vehicles. Any place they agree to give her prasadam, we set up a pendal there. That time we used to get 50, 100, 200 people we get in front of our pandal. That was a big day for us. Sometimes I remember once in Asansol, there is a big hall we got to do our program, and that day I was sick, I had fever. So at 8:30, when I got up, I was feeling low, well, then I came to see how the program is going on. Then I saw the natak, the drama, devotees are staging drama on the stage. There is no audience and the whole hall is empty, except Jayapataka Maharaja and his secretary, they both sitting there, nobody is there. So these kind of programs we had to face at the beginning, but somehow or other, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu is sticking to doing this program. Then gradually Bhaktiraga Maharaj, every year he organized this program. Then our program developed up to a standard where the people, they wanted to build a pandal for us with very minimum light facilities, and they wanted to give us 300 rupees per night. Wherever we do program, they give us prasadam and 300 rupees per night. At that time, if we get 2,000 to 1,000 people, oh, that is a big day for us. Gradually this program day by day increased its shape. Nowadays we can see the program has taken such a big shape. Like this year we did continuously 4-month program. So each place average we are getting 10 to 15,000 people. And this program, whole program was organized by Namahata people. What they used to do, they start organizing this program 1 month before. They propagate all over that area. That's why 20,000, 30,000 people, they get together also. And to set up a pandal, they used to spend 10 to 15,000. Each Namahata group, they have to spend at least 15 to 20,000 rupees and to set this pandal program for us. So this year we did at least 100 pandal programs. Now you calculate 100 into, if average 15,000, that is how much? 15 lakhs? 1,500. So Namahata is such a preaching program that we don't have to run after money for preaching. As we think we need lot of money, then we can preach. But Namahata will give us facilities, but we don't have to handle any money. Money will be handled by Namahata people. So much potency they have. Even if life membership field, I have seen is Namahata people, they are very potential to make life members, to collect donations also. So in this way, our cycle jatra, our school preaching program, pandal programs, everything what one temple president cannot do, one Namahata secretary can do also. Specifically in Mayapur I have seen, because so many devotees joining here, that is another advantage of Namahata preaching program, what I have marked, that somebody join as brahmachari, if he does not fit to our management or his mind is disturbed, if he leaves this place, then he is completely in Maya. But by preaching Namahata, with many young boys from our Namahata families, when they join our society, they are like our permanent property. We can never lose a devotee. If we preach through Namahata, we can never lose a devotee from our society. Because if somebody does not fit the management of our society, if he goes back to his house, so there also ISKCON sitting there. So wherever he goes, he cannot avoid ISKCON. You don't want to stay here, go back to your house, ISKCON is sitting there also. So in this end, by Namahata preaching, the verse Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam, then whole world can become one family. That is only possible by Namahata preaching. If we think everybody will join ISKCON wearing saffron, then we have to struggle so much. Like I see this year, Srimad Bhagavatam class, every day we just have to hear how to overcome Maya, overcome our sex desire. This is the struggle for this. So it is not so easy to stay like this. But if we create this Namahatta environment, then each and every house we can turn it into an ISKCON temple. So that is the best way of Namahatta. But I have seen, because I travel to the West also, many people, they apprehend to use this word Namahatta. What I have realized in different parts of the world, they see this Namahatta is only meant for Bengal or for India, but for other parts of the world, maybe this word, this process is not so suitable. So we are giving different other kinds of name, folk program or congregational program, this, that. But I am convinced with this name, Namahatta, which is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, if the same word will be used for each and every congregational preaching, let the congregational members, they know the meaning of this Namahatta, and also the procedure to preach this Namahatta program also should be followed the same way as it is established by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That is how in Mayapur it has expanded so much, because we are following the exact path as it is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Though it is very, sometimes Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, he has to go through very hard time to convince the Namahatta preachers that how they should simply follow the process given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whether speculating or formulating any other way, then automatically this Namahatta preaching program will expand like anything. So that is the basis, like we have Namahatta office here, people are registered, and we have area wise, we have divided 2 preachers for each district, they regularly visit. Then we have an annual conference here, all Namahatta people, they come this place. Now every year about 2,000 Namahatta delegates, they come to attend our Namahatta festival. And if each and every temple all over the world, they follow exactly the same process that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given in his Namahatta book, then definitely it will be in any part of the world, whether Europe or America or South America, gradually it will expand. Though at the beginning it will look like it doesn't fit so much to our society environment. One day people, they are thinking also preaching Hare Krishna Mahamantra, preaching Mahaprabhu's religion in West. No way it will fit there. People cannot give up drinking wine or intoxication, cow meat eating. They think it is not possible. Even Vaishnavas, they are thinking preaching in America is not practical. But it was practical gradually. In the same way, the Namahatta, as it is established, the process given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if each and every temple, they accept the same process, then definitely we can expand this Namahatta congregational preaching program all over the world, as it is happening in West Bengal. It is not like that West Bengal to preach Namahatta, it is very easy. It is very difficult also. In West, at least you have people, they have no contamination, means they have no confusion in spiritual philosophy. But here in Bengal, there are so many varieties of philosophy. When we go to preach, we have to face so much difficulties to convince them in Bengal. But by doing this Namahatta preaching program, gradually we see so many wrong philosophy which are preached by Ramakrishna, Vivekananda and all kinds of Apasampradaya. They are getting eradicated. I remember 10 years or 12 years before, when we were doing Ratha Yatra, that time in Calcutta we were going to Sam Park, there was one place. One day Srila Jayapataka Maharaj on the stage, by mistake, though Srila Prabhupada has warned, don't speak against Vivekananda, he spoke something against Vivekananda. Not so grossly, something slightly against Vivekananda he spoke. Then when he came out of the stage, the 30-40 boys, they were led by one lady, the follower of Vivekananda. They all whole group came and forced him, you have to go back to the stage and beg apology. why you spoke like this? Nobody in India, especially Bengal, can dream to speak a single word against Vivekananda, Ramakrishna. Because the Bengal, the saint or saintly person means they only know Vivekananda. They do not know anybody else except Vivekananda as a saintly person. So this is the consciousness of Bengal. But to surprise this festival program, we had the public people, when every day we call people to speak something about Prabhupada, about the ISKCON movement. Of course, when I give lecture, though I don't pronounce their name, I speak everything against their philosophy. Clearly, what slogans they give, Jatama, Tatapat, and refute those philosophy by giving the proofs from Shastra, quotations from Shastra. But to my surprise, the people in general, they are coming for the stage. Now they have started pronouncing these things in public, that how the Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, what they have done is not proper teachings of Shastra, and what Prabhupada has done, that is proper teachings, that is proper religion, proper dharma. Even if there, it is very difficult for preaching Namahattam, but though at the beginning we have to struggle, but at the end we get a very good result. That's why I said at the beginning, this is like Kalpavriksha, and this is the result of Shreya result. Though it is at the beginning looks very hopeless, very tiring, and something like that, very not so much encouraging. But if you stick to this kind of program, ultimately we get a very good result.
Right now we're eager to hear from you, dear Prabhu, what's happening in South Africa. I want to give a big applause to Bhakti Purushottam Swami for his wonderful ecstatic presentation.
Very inspiring indeed. In fact, I got so inspired that I've decided to come every day to this program. Just for my own benefit. I won't be able to contribute much, but I'll be able to receive some benefit, a lot of benefit. So, in South Africa, we have a fairly similar type of program going on. Of course, the scale is considerably smaller, but in many ways, the same types of programs are going on, just on a smaller scale. There are a few things, rather than just sort of go through all the details of all the programs that we're doing, I thought I could just, at least at this point, mention a few things which we're doing in South Africa, which are a little different from at least what we've heard of that are being done here in Bengal. And in some cases we found them to be very valuable things. One thing, the point was made right at the beginning that Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj was saying that the principle of Namahata is like a universal principle and it can be applied. It's not that it can only be applied in West Bengal, or even for that matter only amongst Indian people. The principle of Namahata is definitely a universal principle. We've had experience of that in South Africa, in that we've started, it's really not very developed at all, but we've definitely started doing the same type of program amongst the African community in the Durban area and in a couple of places, a couple of areas in South Africa. African people, by that I mean black African people, obviously they come from a totally different cultural type of background. Very, very different. So one has to bear in mind the differences that are there and consider how are we going to approach these people. One has to sort of rethink the strategy to some extent to take into consideration their natures, what they like, what they don't like, and try and make it attractive for them. And I think if one does that, then in regard to any community anywhere in the world, one would be able to establish Namahata and make real inroads and get Krishna consciousness established nicely in any communities. Amongst the black people, we found that there are two things particularly, actually there are many things, but there are particularly two things which they find very attractive in Krishna consciousness. It probably wouldn't be hard to guess what. The first, well, I don't even know what really came first, but I think what is the most attractive is prasad, Krishna prasad. They love Krishna prasad. Actually, everyone loves Krishna prasad generally. So that's one thing. And then the second was kirtan. Now, of course, other people from other communities, they might not be so interested, at least in kirtan, at least perhaps not in the same way as the African people are. But I'm sure that if we think about how to approach different communities, we'll find that there are certain things within our programs we have in Krishna consciousness, which different people will be more easily attracted to. So the African people, they're very rhythmic. If you're driving along country roads in South Africa, you see a few people standing on the side of the road, and there's a very good chance that they will be, to use a vernacular term, jiving on the side of the road, just sort of dancing away in the middle of nowhere. They're very musical people. It's in their blood, so to speak. So I remember on a number of occasions going into some schools, some black African schools in South Africa, and they'd never seen devotees, they'd never heard of, what to speak of, Prabhupada, Krishna. It was just a completely new experience, 100%, and actually somewhat strange experience in many ways for them. But as soon as we started the kirtan, within about a minute, you could have anything from 300 to 1,000 to 1,200 school children dancing like mad, uncontrollably. And you think, wow, these people are seasoned devotees. They got a real taste for the holy name. In fact, in a few schools, some of the school property even got damaged beyond repair, because you have these kirtans where the devotees start running around in circles and running around the school grounds, and the school children join in, and within about 5 minutes all the flower gardens were non-existent and few windows were broken. And in fact, the Pandal programs which are being done here so successfully, we've been doing in the Indian communities, because in South Africa, as you probably know, everything is divided up racially. So there are certain disadvantages to that, but there are also certain advantages, believe it or not. So we've been doing these Pandal programs since, I think, 1976, almost 20 years. And we've done a few in the African communities. The only problem is that they get so fired up that by the end of the evening the tent may not be standing any longer. All the chairs may be destroyed. So you have to be a little careful. Anyway, I'm just trying to make the point that the principle of Namahata is definitely universally applicable, but one may just have to think how to apply it. So in South Africa we have, actually it's mainly just around the Durban area, the Natal province, we have approximately 50 Namahatas. They're weekly or sometimes twice weekly programs, and the average attendance is about 50. Sometimes it's up to 100, sometimes it's down to maybe 30, but the average is approximately 50. And as Maharaj was saying, it's like a kalpavriksha tree. One has to be a little careful to try to understand that these people, at least once they get into Krishna consciousness, that they are devotees. It's not like we are the devotees and they are some other sort of entity like the audience or even the congregation. Sometimes we use these terms, that there are the devotees and there's the congregation, or there's been different types of terms coined over the years, that there are the full-time devotees and the part-time devotees. Part of the time they're devotees and part of the time, I don't know, what do you call them? Maybe they're demons or karmis or... But actually they're devotees. Once they get into the swing of it, they're definitely devotees, and they identify as devotees. And just like the devotees, the temple devotees, they want to engage in devotional service. They want to do something. They don't want to be just people who come once a week or twice a week to a little religious service, then they go home and carry on with everything else. They actually want to be devotees, because as we've found, practicing Krishna consciousness, that it's very nice to practice Krishna consciousness. And as you get into it, you want to do it more and more. So we've had to try to use our small brains to figure out how to engage these people as devotees. And then, as Maharaj was saying, when you do that, then you find that from having, like, say, a manpower pool of maybe 50 or 100 devotees or 20 devotees, depending on how many devotees live in your temple, suddenly you find you've got a manpower pool of 500, 1,000, 2,000, or I don't know how many here in Bengal, but many, many. And actually they want to do something, and in so many cases they're quite capable. At least materially we've found they're very, very capable of putting together programs and doing things. One thing that we found, I was asking those questions a few minutes ago about how do you make sure that they're preaching Krishna consciousness if our temple devotees are only going 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, something like that. So one thing that we've done in South Africa, which I think it can be done anywhere and it's very successful, very valuable, is that we've actually started a systematic program of educating the Namahata devotees in Krishna consciousness. Systematic, operating on different levels. There's what is called a junior certificate for children beneath the age of, I think, 18. And they have to study, they have one class a week for a whole year. And they study, in a very simple way, Krishna consciousness. And at the end, at different points, they sit exams. And then at the end of the year, they get their junior certificate. Then there's senior certificate. That's also a one-year program for adults. One class a week, generally, for a full year, on the basic teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the basic teachings of science of self-realization, and other like fundamental philosophical aspects of our Krishna conscious philosophy. Then there's the diploma course. Diploma course is a 3-year course. And there they go through a complete Bhagavad Gita overview. And actually I don't know all the books they go through, but they go through, I think, the Krishna book in great detail, Nectar of Devotion in detail, in real detail. So they actually become really qualified to preach Krishna consciousness and conduct programs themselves, because we had the experience, you may not have had it here so much, but we had the experience in the past that when we let the Namahata people run their own Namahatas, they have a tendency to degenerate into some hybrid of Krishna consciousness plus Hinduism, a rather extraordinary looking type of creature, but it's definitely not the right thing. And now also what we're doing in South Africa is that it's also along the lines of what Maharaj was saying, that we've been distributing so many books over the years, and I know it's like a type of heresy in ISKCON to suggest that maybe the emphasis should not be that our temple devotees mainly do book distribution. Some of our devotees in ISKCON would probably consider that like tantamount to suggesting promoting atheism or something of that sort. But what we've decided to do, this is just recently, actually only about 3 or 4 months ago, is to try and get the temple devotees to conduct namahattas and promote namahatta and develop namahattas, and get the namahatta devotees mainly to do the actual book distribution and sankirtan like that. So in order to do that, we also found we had to educate the temple devotees. So right at this very moment, as of about, I think it was mid-December or so, we started a program. It's linked with this program I just described of educating the congregation or the namahatta devotees. We have a program going on to educate all the temple devotees so that they're actually capable of going and giving classes on regular bases, and not just, you know, in many cases temple devotees, even though they're nice devotees, they can't on a regular basis sit there and present Krishna consciousness in an interesting or clear, organized type of way. So that we're trying to do. And we're expecting to see a great increase actually in the book distribution and in everything. Of how namahatta can be utilized in order to do things beyond the capacity of the temple and the temple devotees is our Durban Rath Yatra. As far as I'm aware, it's the biggest Rath Yatra outside of India. Just the last one we held was a 5-day event, December 15th to 19th, just a couple of months ago. We don't really know how many people attended, but as far as we could make out, we distributed something like about 150,000 plates of prasad, full meals, which is an awful lot of prasad. If every meal means like 5-6 preparations, and nicely prepared, very nice prasad. So if every meal is, say, 1/4 kilo of foodstuffs or something like that, or I don't know what, 1/2 kilo maybe, then you're talking of something like maybe 30 to 50 tons of prasad, which is an awful lot. So a temple with, in the case of Durban, there's about 70 devotees living in the temple. You can't do that. Put on a big festival, set it all up, publicize it, conduct it, and then feed 150,000, or it may even have been 200,000 people. There were 3 main days, 1 holiday and 1 weekend, where we probably got about 50 to 70,000 people each day, and then there were 2 weekdays where we got maybe 20,000 people each day. So you can't do that with 70 devotees. But with namahatta, with these hundreds of devotees who live outside, but they identify as devotees and they want to be involved. So you can do this. We had all the cooking was done by namahatta devotees. And there were something like 24-hour shifts. You get these open fires and these lines of pots, about 20 or 30 pots lined up. They're all being cooked simultaneously, and it's going on 24 hours a day for 5 or 6 days. Just massive amounts of prasad being produced. So you can only do that with larger numbers of devotees than we generally get within our temples. Another thing which we're doing in South Africa, in Durban particularly, which is it's a little adventurous, it's a little risky, but so far it seems to be working nicely, is that we're actually involving the Namahata devotees, some of them, the more qualified materially and spiritually devotees, in the temple running of our temple. Previously we tried to involve people they were devotees, or they were interested at least in Krishna consciousness, but they weren't really regular devotees chanting 16 rounds a day, but they were very rich. We involved a couple of them, but it was sort of like their own natures that they couldn't help themselves. They ended up trying to take over the temple. It was just their own natures, really. So we decided that if we got Namahata devotees who were really devotees, chanting 16 rounds a day, and really committed to working hard in all their spare time to helping this movement, and who are in many cases very intelligent people and very qualified materially, they could actually help us, because we temple devotees in most cases, we don't have experience in management and strategies and how to really organize things systematically. But many of them do. So now we have our temple council is composed mainly of Namahata devotees. And there's a Namahata council, and there's a couple of other councils, festival council. And they're manned mainly by, or at least to quite some extent by, these Namahata devotees. And because they are devotees, they're not just like interested people who have qualification who we're trying to engage, but they're actually devotees. So they're able to help. And the devotees then are getting free to do more preaching and to develop on a grassroots level the Namahata program. And there's a lot more I could say. I don't think we have so much time. Just one other interesting thing. We were thinking how, as I mentioned earlier, how do we engage these people? Do they just come once a week for a program and then go home? Do we just send them out to sell books or sell this or that? How do we actually engage them? So then we thought we should try and develop programs so that Namahata people who have the same occupational interests could work together in their occupations, and in this way maintain themselves, but in a more Krishna conscious environment.
Actually, it's very enlightening that to hear Raghuveer Prabhu's presentation, and also very enlightening that he'll be participating every day, because actually there's so much more that devotees, I know they'd like to ask him also, and increase their understanding about the realizations that they've achieved in South Africa in establishing 50 Namhatas, which are doing so many different programs. We're like a little late now, maybe just in 5 minutes we could just write down as a kind of review, after hearing these presentations and from what you've picked up in these days of discussion so far, what are some of the advantages of congregational preaching? Here, okay, you got your hand ready. Why don't you write? We get book distributors, increase book distribution. Here, give us, you may need 2 lines. Start over here.
We can extend our preaching range.
Extend our preaching range. You gonna be able to keep up? You need 2.
Extend the preaching range.
Book distribution increase. Number 2, you gotta make it a little bigger. Number 2 is extend our preaching range or preaching capacity. Source, steady source of manpower. That's steady is EA. Steady, steady. Source of manpower. Then under that you can put ditto income. Like a lot of hands went down when those two things.
Increase preaching programs and prasad distribution.
Let's be a little specific because we say generally you wipe out. You got here extend preaching, increase preaching programs. And then one of the programs is, another one thing is, as we heard, prasad distribution.
Here said the better economy. Better economy is coming.
Stable temple economy. Say the same things in different ways. Yes?
Increase more high-efficient devotees.
Increase the number of Krishna devotees.
Better reputation. Better reputation.
Improved reputation, or better reputation.
Increase Prabhupada consciousness.
Improved reputation, public reputation. You have another writer over here? You can go quick here. We got to quick. Then someone else can write good. With your increased Prabhupada consciousness. I'll go there, Prabhu.
Get access to qualified assistance.
Access to qualified assistance. And you're writing too big. You got to fit in with one line. Take the qualified assistance.
Like lawyers.
Health, lawyers, qualified.
Different type of preaching.
Well, that's part of our extended preaching. I think we covered, we got increased preaching programs and extended preaching. We would increase and different, variegated. Socially acceptable and influential.
Spread the holy name everywhere.
Spreading holy name everywhere.
Increase the faith in holy name since the chant in holy name of congregation so far. Increase the faith in holy name because the chant in holy name works a small part and then
Increasing faith. Grassroots preaching. It seems like grassroots preaching. In other words, you're getting access to people that you would normally be able to reach. In that sense. I won't put grassroots preaching. Reaching the grassroots, put like that. Reaching the grassroots. Yes?
Eradicate the unbonafide species. Eradicate the unbonafide species.
Okay. Here we got increasing faith. Here we got eradicating bogus philosophies. A bridge between ISKCON and public. A bridge. A bridge, a link. Bridge, Casey. Anything else? Pardon? Fulfilling desire of previous acharyas. Fulfilling previous acharyas' desires. Less words. Anything else? Gee, after all the hype last night, nobody could say that. I mean, all the preaching last night.
From Saturday also.
Hey, what was the word they used? Grand Prabhupada Centennial Celebration. A grander Centennial Celebration.
I know this was mentioned before, but like breaking anti-cult propaganda.
Improve public reputation is there. I guess you could say oblique, counteracting negative, anti-color, whatever. Anything else?
Maybe also by congregation, we can convince our own crowd to family, but we're not doing something valuable as well.
I think we covered that in socially more acceptable, but that application of that is your own family members can start to accept you more. Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Thank you to His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami, Raghavina Prabhu, and all of you for your participation in today's Congregational Preaching Seminar. Come back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hare Krishna. We have a Namhata bus that was used for festival programs that they want to have it blessed by the devotees. So if anyone wants to go there and bless the bus, they're welcome to do so. They'll probably give you some prasadam afterwards. It's sweet.
Swastino Vasudeva Vishnu Dadatu Swastino Narayana Naravai Swastino Pasmana Purushottam Dadatu Swastino Vainatejo Hari Swastino Anjana Suto Anu Bhagavatam Dadatu Swasti Swasti
Bravo!
Hey,